Beans. Yeah, hey, good afternoon, everyone. It is about 1:52. The markets just closed, and so let's talk about December corn real quick. We may send another video out covering wheat and beans here in a little bit, but right now let's just talk about these because you can see here we're back up into our daily cloud. We've been holding it, really all the way since last November. We've been below our daily cloud, and today we had one little close back here. Today's the first day we've had a significant close up into this cloud, and we have this gap here on the chart that, if you followed us a while, you can have a breakaway gap, you can have a continuation gap, or you can have an exhaustion gap, right? And so we don't know which kind of gap this is yet, but given today's price action and exuberance, we may have a breakaway gap here. And if we do, then we could go much higher. Now, we've been talking about, man, the balance sheet is super bearish, and we don't want to get overly bulled up until we close above 550. Well, look at today's close. That is right here at 549 and a quarter, and we broke up through 550, but we didn't hold it on the close, which is all of this stuff. So we've been kicking around lots of different ideas, and Jeff and Phil are sitting here with me while we film this, and we just kind of want to talk through a little bit about what it is fundamentally that could drive this market and technically what could happen, because you could see this market rolling right on over, and really there's nothing super definitive until we get some solid closes up in this range and outside of this action. So Jeff, why, if you're bearish this market and you think or carryout's going up, why aren't you selling it?
Well, I just don't think you can sell today because we just didn't get the rain that they really needed to really push the crop to at least to the tassel stage or whatever, in the ice states. They need more rain, and we need more confirmation that we're going to get the crop to where it needs to be to really say we're going to grow a big crop so we can make the market move lower. So as a fund, I'm not going to sell it today. So I think we're just had a lack of sellers. You may had some maybe a few farmer sellers going on with the update, but I just don't think you had a natural set of sellers today just because of the nature of what the market having gapping overnight, and just not going to step in front of that train at the moment.
And the farmer is a natural seller, and they're not selling today either, not with their crop under stress and the insurance prices at $591. They're not anxious to sell yet, but
so when do you think that changes?
Well, there's a lot of chatter out there among brokers and market analysts that 560, 570, 580 are all big sell targets. They're telling their farmers to put in market orders at those prices. And so if we get to those levels, the natural sellers might come back in, and depending on what the weather's doing at that time, could push the market lower again.
So I think from a technical standpoint, that's pretty well summarizes exactly why we are where we are too, right? Because we broke lower, we rallied back and tested. We don't have a rain event or a huge natural seller that's in this market in order to push it lower. And meanwhile, if you're a fund and you want to get short, you love this higher price action, right? Because higher prices, that's just more ground you can push it to later. So until we really break up above all this stuff, we're just going to see this same type of action until that rain event materializes, and then they could kill it. Because fundamentally, too, your Brazilian crop is getting bigger, right?
Yes.
Your your demand destruction is present, and that's even being having pressure put on it from the feed side as well as the ethanol side. So you've got demand pressures, you've got supply issues in South America, and you've got the hope of a big crop here if we do get rain. So what you end up having is something that might end up looking like wheat, where we had this big run up into the insurance price, and then they just smoked it right back down in a few days because of really because of some similar setups.
cheap European
Correct.
wheat,
cheap
cheap
European,
Russian wheat. Yeah.
cheap European wheat, cheap, and a harvest price or an insurance price that was up in this level here. So, you know, we're sitting here at really important levels on corn, and it's decision time, right? So what do? Well, if you're super worried about it, then calls are where we want to be. You want to be sold futures or sold cash with long calls above it. That will at least let you participate if this thing runs higher. And kind of big picture, we're still of the opinion that if we burn Iowa up, $6 corn is not what we're worried about. We're worried about $8.50, $9
Right.
corn if we burn Iowa up. So if we give up the first 75 cents of that rally, that's okay if we're heading higher anyway, and we're going to sell multiple years at once, right? So if you're worried about it, calls are where you want to be. And if you're undersold, then this is a gift, and you want to keep selling it up into here until you see some other fundamental reason to line up. Because ultimately, fundamentals and technicals have to win the day, and your technicals will come in line with fundamentals as they reveal themselves, right? So this maybe is leading the weather a little bit, and once that's priced in, then the first rain event, this thing gets sold. So I guess.
I mean, it's a weather market. We're still in a weather market, right?
Right.
And the guys at BAM are saying that the forecasts trend cooler through the end of June, and they're unclear after that part. I mean, they think that it's going to trend cooler beyond that, but their forecasts are unclear. But so I mean, if we're still dry at that point, and then the forecast trend hotter, I mean, that's where you might see the big explosion.
That's where we may get it. Okay, so there you are. I know everyone's scratching their heads about it. You know, we're staring at screens and reading everything we possibly can, and you still have to just sit back and watch how the market digests all this stuff, and then try to get positioned accordingly, right? And we don't see any reason to vary from that analysis over the last couple weeks. We're this zone in here, right? 560, 545, somewhere in this area is where we start to turn more and more bullish, especially as we get closes up out of this cloud. You know, so I think we just sit right there and we stay really patient, and we try not to overtrade this thing as this market develops. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Hopefully that's helpful. It's a little bit different format. Give us feedback on that. If you like having all three of us, that's great. If you think that's helpful, we'd love to know. We'll be back with wheat and beans probably here in a little bit. We'll talk to you later. Have a great night.